Finally, after what seems like an eternity of waiting, we get back to the adventures of our favorite acerbic extrovert and his reluctant companion. Welcome back to the adventures of Doctor Who. We begin pretty abruptly with Perry questioning whether or not the Doctor has fully stabilized after his rather chaotic regeneration. But apart from a bit of insult trading, good-heartedly, of course, not serious, he insists that he's fine and decides to do a quick stop-off in 1985 because he's found a distress signal. Of course, 1985 being the year I was born, so that's a plus. They land in none other than the very same junkyard where all this started. Yep, the I Am Foreman yard. That's no other way to put it. In London. And slowly they figure out where the signal's coming from, only to find out that it's bouncing around from other sources. But they figure if they're observant, they can discover the source and track down whoever's in trouble. They're also being followed by two police officers who seem rather robotic. Eventually, they find a signal that leads into the sewers, and also run afoul of the two officers. Meanwhile, in those sewers, workmen are going missing. One even turns up with his neck broken. And we find out why. The Cybermen, who have upgraded their appearance a little more, have set up shop in the sewers and are working towards some really bad stuff. And it turns out they've got an accomplice. None other than Commander Lytton, who used to work for the Daleks. Turns out he was a mercenary. Now he's working for the Cybermen. He even offers up one of his partners in crime because he brought them with him to allegedly steal some diamonds, but really they were offered up as a sacrifice in order to get into the cyber controller's good graces. And what's more, this cyber controller is in fact the same one we met on Telos all those years ago. Turns out he survived and upgraded himself. And he brought more Cybermen to take over Telos and wipe out the indigenous population. A species that can only survive in 0 degrees Fahrenheit. They're called the Cryons, and they're relatively peaceful. Their only discerning features being high voices and a tendency to wiggle their clawed fingers at people in a weird way. But what are you going to do? They're aliens. Anyway, they've established a time corridor, and their plan is to set up shop in the mid-80s and prevent the first Doctor from stopping them from destroying Earth in 1986. Yes, that's still canon. Problem is, Mondas was destroyed in 1986, and if that doesn't happen, then let's just say time is really going to be angry. It'll cause a massive paradox. So it's up to the Doctor and Perry and hopefully Lytton, who, as it turns out, was working for the Cryons the whole time, to stop them. Unfortunately, the human who was pulled along for the ride, the accomplice, not to mention 2 work prisoners who were partially cyber-converted, end up getting killed in the process. Meanwhile, Lytton gets his hands broken by the cyber controller and gets partially cyber-converted, and there's no way to reverse it. The best the Doctor can do is slip Lytton a knife and let him stab the cyber controller, who's still pretty fragile and full of mech fluid. In the ensuing battle, the Doctor manages to take out several Cybermen, and ultimately, a device that he presented earlier as a replacement for his sonic screwdriver, known as the Sonic Lance, was given to a Cryon female whom he befriended earlier in order to activate explosive that only works at room temperature to blow up the facility that the Cybermen have established, because they've been busy reviving and upgrading their comrades. They haven't quite gotten to the tomb where all this started, but they will, or at least they were going to, before the Doctor managed to help blow them up, at the cost of the Cryons, who accepted their fate with sad grace, and the Doctor's new Sonic Lance. And ultimately, the day is sort of saved, and, well, at the very least, history is saved. And so the Doctor and Perry move on to their next adventure, which has to be better, right? Right? Nope. Turns out the TARDIS is low on power, which they derive from material called well, I forget the name, but this mineral that they require is only found on one place, the planet Veros. Originally, it was a prison world for the criminally insane, but once the mineral was discovered, the descendants of the original prisoners were press-ganged into mining it. And they established these fake laws that everyone has to abide by, and it's a real 1984 vibe, with everyone spying on everyone else. So you can't even think about dissent. And you can't even say that Veros used to be a prison planet. That's not what people want the populace to know. Instead, they have what's known as the Punishment Dome, a place where people who disagree with the regime are tortured to death in various really nasty ways, and those deaths are recorded and the tapes are sold for entertainment. Basically, it's reality TV at its most extreme. And it also calls to mind the so-called video nasties that plagued the more conservative cultures in the world back in the 70s and 80s, when home video became more ubiquitous. Add to that a vile creature called Syl, basically a slug monster, who would have made a much better template for Mestor back at the first Sixth Doctor adventure. He is trying to swindle the leader of Varos into giving him a pittance for the ore, and to letting him give him a pittance for the ore. When in reality, the ore is very, very valuable. And this swindle act culminates in Syl wanting to take over the planet and sell the ore for an exorbitant price. Meanwhile, the people have voted against the leader of Varos, wanting to hold out for more money, because that means they have to tighten their belts just a wee bit, and they don't want to do that. They're already overworked, underpaid, and their only entertainment is televised torture. So they vote against him, which requires that he be slowly basically turned into soup by a molecular disintegrator. He survives, barely, but clearly this culture is slid back into the battle days of barbarism. Meanwhile, we get to see, I'm guessing, a married couple who are always suspicious of one another watch and comment on the events. Basically, we're part of the same audience that has perpetuated this culture. It's kind of a big old mirror to our faces. Luckily, the Doctor, who's managed to hook up with some rebels, is able to evade capture and avoid the various traps and puzzles of the Punishment Dome. And eventually, after Syl gets thwarted by his own people, who find traces of the ore in nearby asteroids, decide to call off the invasion and pressure him to get fresh ore right now, because they need it right now, at whatever the cost. So the governor is able to not only survive with the help of a sympathetic guard, but he's reestablished his control, stops transmitting the Punishment Dome cameras, leaving the married couple confused as to what to do now, and insists that Syl pays, I believe, 20 credits per unit for the ore, which leaves him screaming in impotent rage. And so peace finally comes to Varos. So hopefully the people will prosper. And after that ordeal, Harry and the Doctor really need a break. So they decide to head to a pre-industrial revolution meeting of scientists who are about to make history by, well, kickstarting the Industrial Revolution. Problem is, there have been Luddite riots. People who think mechanization is going to destroy their jobs, but they don't understand the machines are there to make their jobs easier. We still need humans at the core of everything, but they don't get it. Meanwhile, the Doctor wants to talk to a scientist who is sort of hosting the event, but he ends up running afoul of some Luddites who have gone completely insane, attacking anyone whom they think is a scientist. Meanwhile, there's this bathhouse run by an old lady, and people act weird when they come out of it. And unbeknownst to the Doctor and Perry, the Master, who somehow survived getting incinerated back on that volcanic world, is skulking about for who knows why. And then we find out that the old lady running the bathhouse is also a Gallifreyan, a time lady, an exiled genetic engineer called the Rani. And she's been stealing the chemicals from human brains that naturally help us sleep. And without the ability to rest, people are starting to lose their marbles, which is why there's been an increase in Luddite violence. Meanwhile, eventually the Doctor and Perry manage to hook up with the Lord of the Manor, where the conference of scientists is being hosted, and he makes nice with them and offers to investigate what's going on. Eventually, the Rani's plan comes to light, and she is completely ruthless, not caring that these humans are complex biological entities and not just vats of chemicals for her to exploit. She even executes two of her minions, who are humans that have been enslaved by brain parasites that she feeds them. Just because they're no longer useful to her. Meanwhile, the Master steals some of the chemical that she's been amassing, and that would force her to start all over again unless she complies with his wishes to help destroy the Doctor and Perry once and for all. And so they play cat and mouse around this quaint little pre-industrial revolution village, meeting new people, befriending them, being betrayed by them, not intentionally, because the Rani's been relieved of her brain parasites. The Master's actually been utilizing them, and even causes this one guy who was really nice to try to lure Perry and the Doctor into a minefield of the Rani's making, which, when stepped on, transforms a human into a tree. I mean, that's the stuff of fairy tales, but the Rani's managed to pull it off. Ultimately, the battle is taken to the Rani's TARDIS, which the Master tries to commandeer. Only the Doctor managed to sabotage it, and it goes flying out to who knows where and who knows when. And not only that, but a fetal T-Rex, which was kept in a jar in the Rani's TARDIS, breaks open, releasing the animal, which, thanks to wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, comes back to life and starts growing. So when the TARDIS finally stops, the Rani and the Master have got a young T-Rex to deal with. Yay for them. After mourning the loss of some of the friends they've encountered in the village, and having a chat with one of the scientists that showed up, the Doctor and Perry finally are able to leave and end up going fishing. Meanwhile, somehow, someway, we come upon the second Doctor and Jamie in the TARDIS, flying around. Victoria Waterfield having been dropped off to study some sort of subject. I forget what it was called, but basically that's why she was written out of this episode. Meanwhile, the second Doctor and Jamie decide to visit a space station where scientists forward the cause of science for science sake. And what they find is not very promising, because some of the scientists have come dangerously close to cracking time travel. And the Doctor is worried that the Time Lords are going to intervene, because casually messing with time is not for novices. He tries to convince the head of the facility not to do it, but the guy refuses to listen. Also, he's a geneticist who's been messing with less developed species. Like, his assistant is a member of this species who practices cannibalism, and was very animalistic, even though they're relatively humanoid, just with really bushy red eyebrows and kind of warty skin. Only she doesn't look the way she used to. She looks practically human, and even has the ability to read minds now. Unfortunately, this is when things go south. The assistant drops the defenses of the station just in time for Sontarans to show up and start executing everybody except the scientist and his assistant. And of course the Doctor and Jamie. Luckily, Jamie gets away and hides, while the Doctor is captured. You see, the Sontarans want time travel for their war against the Rutans, which is going badly. And the scientist has promised them that. Meanwhile, he wants his assistant to help him forward his causes, which is genetic manipulation of lesser species for supposed betterment. Meanwhile, everyone's decided to betray everyone else, because eventually the Sontarans try to betray the scientists try to betray the Sontarans. The assistant wants to become ruler of her people because she's the smartest, even though she still has an appetite for humanoid flesh. Add into this a member of her own species, a male who I'm going to call Crazy Angus, because he looks like a Scotsman and he's crazy. He's obsessed with going after human flesh. And not even a regular meal will sate him. He calls it a snack. And he has no qualms about cudgeling and stabbing people to death, even though they're sapient beings. And he practically tortures Jamie, eventually, in a plan to tenderize him while he's still alive and awake. Meanwhile, the Sixth Doctor and Perry end up hearing a partial distress signal sent from the space station, landing a little after the Sontarans attacked, and they pick up Jamie, who is suffering a little bit of PTSD, but thankfully is relatively unharmed. Then they follow a signal to somewhere in Spain, I think. Andalusia, they call it. And find that the scientist, his assistant, Crazy Angus, and the Sontarans have set up shop. And the Doctor has to try to rescue himself before the scientist decides to manipulate the Doctor into becoming of a similar species to his assistant and Crazy Angus for reasons. Luckily, after a meal of normal food, the Doctor, who ends up being sort of chummy with Crazy Angus for a little while, starts to revert back to his original self. So there's technically no blood on his hands, but Crazy Angus did cudgel a lorry driver to death and stab a restaurant owner that used to be an actor whom the Doctor and company met earlier, after he failed to pay the restaurant owner adequately. Crazy Angus, that is. Excuse me. The Sontarans managed to trick the Doctor into making their time machine work, but the Doctor does double cross and makes it work only once. So when the scientist has a change of heart when he realizes that the genetic manipulation of his assistant didn't properly civilize her, he's killed. The assistant had already killed the Sontarans after they tried to blow up their ship in order to blow everybody else up. The Crazy Angus guy gets taken out by the Sixth Doctor with some clever use from chemicals. He had no choice. The guy was a monster. He made Jeffrey Dahmer look like a teddy bear. And finally, the assistant dies when she tries to get away in the time machine, and it fails. Now, we don't know where the gray-haired second Doctor came from, but it seems that excuse me, instead of being exiled to Earth and meeting Zoe on the wheel, the Doctor, Jamie, and Victoria were allowed to continue their adventures. Maybe it's in book form, I don't know, but wherever this alternate Doctor and Jamie came from, they go back. And maybe it was the time meddling that the scientists did in the first place that caused all this, but who knows. That was the last time we get to see Patrick Troughton as the Doctor. His stress kind of messed up his heart, and he ended up peacefully passing away from a heart attack in 1987. Excuse me. Meanwhile, having had their fill of meat eaters, the Sixth Doctor and Perry, who got along really well with Jamie, by the way, decide to try their hand at being vegetarian for a while, and hopefully can finally find a place to relax. Not just fishing, but really relax. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned, and when the Doctor and Perry travel to a world that the Third Doctor and Joe Grant visited, off screen of course, they find things have changed dramatically. First, they nearly get turned inside out from a rogue time corridor. Then they find out the rogue time corridor is coming from the planet. Next, they get blackmailed into searching for a lady who stole an amulet that somehow controls the power systems of the world. And the Doctor runs into a guy named Herbert, who is kind of a dork from 1885 and who fancies himself an amateur writer, but doesn't have a lot of inspiration. Of course, then he meets the Doctor, stows away aboard the TARDIS, goes to another planet, and gets exposed to what he calls science fiction. And he does prove useful at times, so he's not a complete load. Meanwhile, we find out that the world has been taken over by a guy named Borad. Not Borat, but Borad. No relation. And he is funneling power away from vital systems on the world and basically holding the people hostage. Anyone who disagrees gets thrown into the rogue time corridor, never to be seen again. And he's also got androids to back him up. Eventually, the Doctor and Perry come across a group of rebels who were actively opposing Borad. And eventually it's revealed that Borad was a geneticist who was doing not nice things with his research. So the Third Doctor ratted him out. So eventually he went underground, started doing experiments on the local wildlife, and ended up getting merged with one of the creatures in those caves, which boosted his intellect and life expectancy, but at the same time drove him insane. He managed to take over the government, ban all mirrors because he can't stand his appearance, even though it actually looks kind of cool. See, that's him. And anyone who, like I said, anyone who opposes him, or should I say his android mouthpiece, because no one actually sees what he looks like until he actually kills them with a time acceleration ray, which ages people into skeletons. And those are the lucky ones. The rest get sent to the time corridor. Over the course of the adventure, the Doctor figures out a device to give him a bit of 10 seconds to figure stuff out and sabotage machinery. But it takes time to recharge. He also rigs up a device to capture energy and send it back to wherever it came from about 10 seconds later. And he ultimately uses both devices to destroy Borad. Though unfortunately Borad saw this coming and had himself cloned in order to act as a decoy. His real plan was to start a war with a neighboring world so that the people of this world would be annihilated, and he would forcibly mutate a female in order to be his mate and repopulate the planet. And that female was to be Perry. Luckily, the Doctor thwarts Borad by forcing him to confront his reflection, and he reacts like a vampire would. And the distraction allows the Doctor to throw him into the time corridor. And he's even able to smooth things out with the neighboring world's populace before they blow up the planet. Although the Doctor did have to almost sacrifice the TARDIS and himself. And Herbert, who ended up following him into the TARDIS, even though he told both he and Perry to stay on the planet. Basically, he cranked up the shields on the TARDIS and slammed it into the missile that the neighboring planet's spaceships fired at the world. But ultimately, the day was saved, and the mad scientist was defeated yet again. This season seems to be mostly mad scientists and evil corporations getting thwarted by the Doctor, and a lot of rubbing elbows with rebels. Anyway, Herbert wants to stay. In the end, Herbert wants to stay on the world, and while the Doctor is sympathetic, he insists that Herbert go back to Earth and write about his adventures. But it's okay because it's revealed that Herbert is actually H.G. Wells. Dun dun dun. So it turns out H.G. Wells really did time travel. And finally, the Doctor and Perry travel to a mortuary planet called Necros in order to pay last respects to a scientist that the Doctor considered a friend. Excuse me. Who passed away recently. And when they get there, they come across two things. A plant which looks like bluebell flowers, but has the properties of soybeans, so it could potentially be a food source, and also grows like a weed, so it's easy to cultivate. And also meet a zombie who's not actually a zombie. He's a mutation that was experimented on by a so-called great healer that's come to Necros to turn it from a mortuary world into a world where the terminally ill and exceedingly rich can put themselves in cryosleep until cures can be found for whatever disease they may have. In fact, this one guy is mentioned as waiting for a cure from his wife's trust that he set up, only for it to be revealed that the disease that he has was cured 40 years ago, and his wife's doing something else with the money, apparently. Add to that a radio DJ that starts out really, really annoying and acts as a font of exposition, but ends up becoming more endearing towards the end. But we'll get to him later. So the Doctor and Perry go to the mortuary facility and find none other than tall white Daleks. Yes, the Daleks are back in new white and gold livery with new voices, but the same old mentality. Exterminating anyone who's not like them. And to top it all off, Davros is still alive. He's just a head in a jar, but he's still alive. He's the great healer. And it's also revealed through two body snatchers looking for the father of one of them, who also happens to be the scientist that the Doctor has come to pay respects to. Turns out the highly intelligent among those at the facility are having their heads mutated into Daleks. And not only that, but the less intelligent are being turned by Davros into concentrated protein to combat famine in a developing part of the galaxy. Yes? Soylent Green is people! And I thought Davros could sink no lower. I mean, it's one thing for instinct-driven aliens, like in one of the previous adventures, to crave human flesh, but duping innocent people into consuming that stuff, that's messed up. That's seriously messed up. I mean, I'm not surprised Mary Whitehouse was having problems with this season of Doctor Who. Because when you think about it, it's really dark. Luckily, there are agents working against Davros. For instance, the lady who runs the factory that processes the protein in exchange for a whole bunch of money that she doesn't want to part with. She hires a former knight, space knight basically, and his squire to take Davros out. Although she plans to double cross the knight by giving him a bomb that he doesn't realize is a bomb. Meanwhile, Davros has started pitting the staff of the funeral facility against one another. This one lady who fawns after the head embalmer, that's the lead embalmer, not the one who embalms heads. Davros reveals to her that not only is he kind of a jerk towards her, but he is never going to accept her as a girlfriend. He flirts with every female in that facility but her. And he also offers to make her an immortal Dalek in exchange for killing the guy. And she reluctantly accepts, although she tries one last time to tell him that Davros wants him dead and to get him to come away with her. But he just laughs her off. Like, he is unreasonably cruel to her. So finally, she puts him down with a needle of embalming fluid into his heart. And he dies in a darkly comedic fashion, with his bad toupee falling off his head as he dies. Unfortunately, because she didn't just get on with it, she tried to help him, Davros orders his Daleks to take her out. And eventually it's revealed that Davros' head in a jar, which has a zapper in its forehead, that was a decoy. Real Davros is very much intact and sporting a zapper in his forehead and in his surviving hand. Of course, the hand gets blown off eventually in a firefight between the knight, his squire, and Davros' Daleks. And unfortunately, after destroying the head that was partially mutated of that scientist guy by the daughter's friend earlier, the daughter and the friend are also killed by a Dalek. So now the doctor's friend, the scientist, is truly dead. And so is his family. So all that's left to do is destroy Davros once and for all. But as it turns out, two of the staff members have called Skaro and brought some original gray and black livery Daleks to the planet Necros. Because it turns out the Dalek Supreme does not want Davros doing what he's doing. It's creating impure Daleks. So Davros is arrested and led away, screaming impotently, to stand trial for crimes against the Daleks. And the white Daleks, they'll be reconditioned. They could prove useful, at least as cannon fodder. But before the white Daleks are loaded onto the gray Dalek spaceship, The knight who got his prosthetic leg blown off earlier and lost his squire, he decides to activate the bomb, which he knows is a bomb, it turns out, to take out Davros and the White Daleks once and for all. Unfortunately, the Dalek spaceship lifts off before Davros can be destroyed, but at the very least, the White Daleks are all killed, supposedly. Meanwhile, the staff of the facility managed to get out safely, although while fighting the White Daleks with I kid you not, sonic rock and roll blaster, the DJ got cocky and didn't stay behind cover, and so Perry had to watch him get gunned down. But the day is saved for now. Davros is once again in custody, although he's in custody of Daleks, so who knows what'll happen there. And with a reputation of the now empty mortuary facility in a shambles, the Doctor and Perry tell the now jobless staff that instead of processing dead bodies into protein, they can process the local plant life into protein. And so the morticians become gardeners. And after all this, the Doctor and Perry have earned a bit of a rest. But before the Doctor can say where they're going next, the episode ends. And as for the serial that aired while I was actually being born during the first fortnight of April of '85, I wish I could tell you which one that was, but unfortunately the season ended March 30th, 1985. So I was born during the Doctor Who hiatus. Of course, what was born during that time was the song Doctor in Distress, which I actually like, but I prefer to listen at a higher speed than what was originally aired. It just sounds better when it's faster. So yeah, for 18 months, the Doctor is not on screens. But thankfully, audio dramas eventually cropped up to fill in the gaps, which caused the Sixth Doctor to become more liked than originally. But that's a matter for another time. When next we meet, the Doctor gets put on trial in more ways than one. Until then, this is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, the coat's not that bad. Yeah, it's a little clownish, but I tolerate it.